Jai Hind everyone. Myself Dr. Vandana Sharma from Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. The subject which I am taking, subject is Engineering Physics, code is KS101T. The topic which I have completed in my last lecture, topic is relativistic mechanics. So today I am going to solve a few numericals based upon the different concepts of relativistic mechanics. So first a quick review that what we have discussed in this relativistic mechanics chapter, or under this topic what are the subtopics which we have discussed. So a quick review of that. So under this relativistic mechanics we have discussed about frame of references, about Galilean transformation equations, then Michelson-Morley experiment, after that special theory of relativity, its postulate, and using those postulates we have derived Lorentz equations. Then we have discussed about the concept of length contraction, time dilation, and after that velocity addition theorem. Then we have derived a relationship which will give the variation of mass with the velocity of a particle. Then Einstein mass energy relationship, that E is equal to mc square. So we have derived this famous mass energy relationship here. And then we have derived a relationship between relativistic total energy and momentum. And lastly we have discussed about massless particles. So these are the various topics which we have discussed under relativistic mechanics. So today since I am going to solve few numericals based upon relativistic mechanics, so first I am going to give you a quick review of different formulas which you have discussed in this relativistic mechanics. So I am going to give you different mathematical expressions. For example, for what are the Lorentz equations, I will write those equations. What is the formula for length contraction, what is the formula for time dilation. So in one of the slide I am going to present all those formulas, and after that we will solve few numericals based upon those expressions. So first, you know what are the Galilean transformation equations. So as you know, those Galilean equations, they are applicable in classical mechanics. So Galilean equations are, so your equations which are applicable in classical mechanics. So Galilean equations, these equations are x dash is x minus vt, y dash is equal to y, z dash is equal to z, and t dash is equal to t. This set of four equations, these equations are known as Galilean equations, right? And these equations basically they will transform the coordinate of one inertial frame into the coordinates of other inertial frame. These are the coordinates on left hand side of S dash frame, and these are the coordinates of S frame. So you are converting the coordinates from one inertial frame into the coordinates of other inertial frame. So these equations are Galilean equations, and these equations are applicable when S dash frame is moving along x axis. So the movement of the frame is along x axis, and it is moving with the velocity v, which is very small with respect to c. So these are your Galilean equations. After this you have Lorentz equations, right? So again you have a set of four equations, and those equations, those Lorentz equations, these equations basically all the parameters which will change in relativistic mechanics, they can be calculated using these Lorentz equations. So that set of four equations, first is x dash is x minus vt upon root 1 minus v square upon c square, y dash is y, z dash is z. So again these equations are applicable when s dash is moving along x axis. And the time transformation, that equation is t minus vx upon c square upon under root 1 minus v square upon c square. I hope you remember these equations. These are the Galilean equations applicable in classical mechanics. These are the Lorentz equations which are applicable in relativistic mechanics, and generally these equations are applicable when V is comparable to C, but when V is very small with respect to C, these equations will approach to Galilean equations, right? After that you have concept of length contraction. So you know that in relativistic mechanics, length will contract along direction of motion. So that particular concept is known as length contraction. And you also know that this contraction will take place only along direction of motion, and that other dimensions will remain unaffected. And the formula for length contraction is L equals to L naught into root 1 minus V square upon C square. So what is L naught? L naught is known as proper length, and proper length is the length of object when object is at rest. So this is your length contraction concept. Then you have time dilation concept, right? And according to time dilation concept, in relativistic mechanics, when an object is traveling with the relativistic speed, even time is affected by that motion of the object. So that time dilation formula is T is equal to T naught upon under root 1 minus V square upon C square. So this is your time dilation, right? T is T naught upon under root 1 minus V square upon C square, where this T naught is known as proper time. Proper time means the time measured in that particular frame where the event is actually occurring or happening. So T is T naught upon root 1 minus V square upon C square. So this is time dilation concept. Then you have relativistic mass expression, and that relativistic mass expression that explains that mass is also affected by motion. So relativistic mass formula is m is equal to m naught upon root 1 minus V square upon C square. So this is relativistic mass formula. Then you have mass energy relationship, and that mass energy relationship that suggests that E energy can be converted into mass and mass can be converted into energy. E is total energy, m is the relativistic mass here, and k is the kinetic energy, and kinetic energy in relativistic mechanics is m minus m naught into C square. So this is expression for total energy, and this is expression for kinetic energy, right? So these are different concepts which we have derived in relativistic mechanics, and all these derivations, they were done with the help of Lorentz equations, and all these derivations or expressions or formulas, they are applicable when V is comparable to C, and if you will substitute in all these equations this particular condition that V is very small with respect to C, then you will finally approach to the results of classical mechanics, right? So we have also concluded there that classical mechanics is a special case of relativistic mechanics, means this relativistic mechanics is equally applicable is equally applicable at low speed. It is applicable when V is comparable to C, but it is also applicable when V is very small with respect to C, right? So that is the beauty of relativistic mechanics, means that particular branch of relativistic mechanics is not only applicable when V is comparable to C, that is also applicable when V is very small with respect to C. So you can describe the motion of any moving object with the help of relativistic mechanics. Now using all these formulas, we are going to solve few numericals, and in our previous lectures we have also solved few numericals when we have done a particular derivation. For example, when we have solved these Galilean equations, at that point you have proved there that distance between 2 points is invariant under Galilean equations. Similarly, you have solved few numericals based upon Lorentz equations and all these concepts. So now I am going to solve a few more questions here, for more numericals here. So you have to remember all these formulas, right? Galilean equations, Lorentz equations, length contraction, time dilation, variation of mass with the velocity, mass energy relationship, kinetic energy relationship, k is equal to m minus m naught C square. And there is one more relationship between total energy and momentum, and that relationship is E square is equal to P square C square plus M naught square C4. This is one more relationship, and this is relationship between total energy E. E is the total energy and P is the relativistic momentum, right? So now I am going to solve a few numericals here. So first question which I am going to take here, that question is this. So first you have to go through the question, that what is given in the question. A train whose length is 150 meter. So you have a train there and the length of the train is 150 meter, and the length of that train is 150 meter when it is at rest. It has to pass through a tunnel of length 125 meter. Means that train will pass through a tunnel and the length of the tunnel is 125 meter. Length of the train is 150 meter. The train is moving towards a tunnel of the length 125 meter. The train is moving towards a tunnel with a uniform velocity of 0.8 c. Means the train that is moving with 0.8 c, with this uniform velocity, it is moving towards the tunnel. Now find the length of the train and the tunnel as seen by an observer at the train. So question is that the observer is sitting at the train. So when the observer is sitting at the train, then for that observer, train is at rest. Are you getting my point? The observer who is sitting in the train, for that observer, the train is at rest, because the observer as well as the train is moving with same speed. It means when the observer is sitting in the train, then length of the train, because the length of the train when it is at rest, that is already given to you, it is 150 meter. So this is the length of train, and the length of the tunnel, that is equal to, it is given in the question, it is 125 meter, right? So now the question is, the first part of the question is, the observer is sitting in the train. So when observer is present in the train, this is the first part. Actually there are two parts of this question, only one is mentioned. So I am going to solve both the parts. Observer is present at the train. So for that observer, what will be the length of the train? Obviously the length of the train will be same as the length of the train when it is at rest. So length of the train, why I am saying so? Because when observer is at the train, then train is having same length, the train is at rest for that observer, so length of the train is 150 meter. Now you have to find the length of the tunnel, and you are going to calculate for that observer who is sitting in the train. So for the observer who is sitting in the train, the length of the tunnel will get contracted, because the train is moving with this uniform velocity of 0.8 c, which is comparable to c. It means now the length of the tunnel is its original length into root 1 minus v square upon c square. You know that this factor is because of this constant velocity of the train towards the tunnel. So what is the length of the tunnel when it was at rest? It is 150 meter into root 1 minus 0.8 c upon c whole square. So this is 0.64 c square upon c square, that will get cancelled. 1 minus 0.64, that will be 0.36. 0.36 outside the under root, it will be 0.6. So 125 multiplied by 0.6, and it is equal to 75 meter. It means the length of the tunnel for an observer who is sitting at the train, length of the tunnel is 75 meter. Actually the length of the tunnel is 125 meter. If 125 meter when that tunnel is at rest, or that tunnel is having this original length of 125 meter, but when the observer who is sitting in the train, for that observer there will be contraction in the length of tunnel, and that tunnel will appear as 75 meter long. So this is the first part of the question. So I hope I hope that this particular concept of length contraction is understood, that when the observer is sitting in the train, then train will appear of same length, that is 150 meter. But for the observer who is sitting in the train, the tunnel length of that tunnel will appear to be contracted, and that contraction will take place according to this formula, and the length of the tunnel is 75 meter. Now we are taking the second part of this question. Suppose the observer is sitting in the tunnel. When observer was sitting in the train, you are getting this particular answer. Now in the second part, your observer is sitting at the tunnel. So we are going to solve this particular part. Now observer is in the tunnel, and you know what is the length of the train? Length of the train is 150 meter. This is the length when it is at rest, and length of the tunnel, that is 125 meter. So that is given in the question. Now the second part is your observer is in the tunnel, right? This is the position of observer. So when observer is in the tunnel, then what will be the length of tunnel for that observer? It will be same. It means the length of the tunnel is 125 meter. So I hope the first part is clear. Now the length of the tunnel will appear same, and that is equal to 125 meter. Now we will calculate the length of train. Since the train is moving with a relativistic speed of 0.8 c, so for the observer who is sitting in the tunnel, for that observer, length of the train will be contracted, and that length will be original length of the train into root 1 minus v square upon c square. So this is 150 meter into root 1 minus, 0.8 c means 0.64 c square will get cancelled. This will be 0.36, and outside the under root it will be 0.6. So you are getting 150 into 0.6. So this is your 90 meter. It means the length of the train for an observer who is sitting in the tunnel, for that observer, length of the train is 90 meter. So I hope this particular point is clear, that the contraction that will take place, and that will depend upon the position of the observer. In the first case, you have seen that when observer is present in the train, then train will appear as 150 meter, and the tunnel will get contracted, and its length will be 75 meter for that observer. But when the observer is in tunnel, then tunnel will appear as 125 meter long, but the length of the train, now that will contract, and instead of 150 meter, it is 90 meter. So all these concepts, they depends upon the position of observer. So depending upon the position of observer, you are getting two different sets of answers. If the observer is present in train, you are getting train is of same length 150 meter, but the tunnel is 75 meter. But when observer is in the tunnel, you can see that tunnel is of 125 meter length, and the train is, that will appear as 90 meter long. So all these factors, or all these terms, they are decided by the position of observer. So I hope this particular part is clear. So how to solve numericals based upon length contraction? First you have to decide what is the position of observer, from where the observations are taken, right? So this is your question based upon length contraction. Now we are going to solve this numerical, and it is based upon the concept of time dilation. So first the question is, a man leaves Earth in a rocket ship that makes a round trip to the nearest star, which is 4 light years away, right? So there is a man, and that man is leaving Earth, and it is moving towards the nearest star, and it is making a round trip. Round trip means it will move from Earth to that star, and then it will come back to Earth, means it will make a round trip, and that makes a round trip to the nearest star, which is 4 light year away, means the distance between Earth and that star is 4 light years. So for the round trip, what is the distance travelled? For this forward journey from Earth to star, distance is 4 light years, and it is coming back, it means again it will travel a distance of 4 light years. So during that round trip, the distance which that rocket will travel, that distance is 8 light years, means that particular person that will travel a distance of 8 light years during that round trip, right? So that is the first part of question. A man leaves Earth in a rocket ship that makes a round trip to the nearest star, which is 4 light years away, at a speed of 0.8 c. Now this is interesting, that the rocket is traveling with a speed of 0.8 c. It means that rocket is traveling with the relativistic speed. So now the concept of relativistic mechanics are applicable here. How much younger will he be on his return that his twin brother who preferred to stay behind? So actually there are twin brothers. Suppose X and Y, these are the two twin brothers. Suppose X is starting its journey in that rocket ship to the nearest star, and after taking a round trip it is coming back, and Y is staying at the surface of Earth. So you know that according to the concept of relativistic mechanics, or in other words you can say according to the concept of time dilation, there will be a difference in even in the biological clocks of those two twin brothers, because one of the twin, that is X, that twin is traveling with the relativistic speed, and whenever a particular whenever the movement is with relativistic speed, the time is also affected by that relativistic speed. So you have to find the difference in the age of X and Y, right? So using the concept of time dilation, we will try to solve this question. So the first part is, now what is given in the question, you will write all those parameters here. So during the round trip, what is the distance traveled? So distance traveled is 4 light years for forward journey and 4 light years for the backward journey. So the total distance traveled is 8 light years, right? So 8 light years, that is the distance traveled, and that distance is traveled with the speed of 0.8 c, right? These two terms are given. This is the information we have, and according to the concept of time dilation, you know T is equal to T naught upon under root 1 minus V square upon C square. This is the concept of time dilation, right? Now in this question, T naught is given to us, because T naught, that is the time measured in the frame where the event is actually occurring. So since for that round trip 8 light years is the distance traveled, and that distance is traveled in 0.8 c with the speed of 0.8 c. So T naught is given in this particular question, because you know velocity is equal to distance upon time. So if you want to calculate the time, then that will be equal to distance upon the velocity. Distance is, this distance is 8 light years. So 8 light years upon speed is 0.8 c, right? Light years, as you know, it is a unit of distance. So when you will solve it, it will be, this is 0.8 c and it is 8 light years. So there will be a speed of light, a factor of c here. So c and c will get cancelled, and you are getting this time is, T naught is 10 years. Means that particular twin X who is traveling in that rocket ship, that twin is taking 10 years to travel that particular to travel that distance. Now this T naught is, this is not T naught, this is T. This one is T. So now you have T. So what will be T naught? T naught is T into root 1 minus V square upon C square. So you have this time which is 10 light years. So T naught will be 10 years into root of 1 minus, your V is 0.8 c. So when you will substitute it, it will be 1.64, it will be 0.36, and outside this it will be 0.6. So 10 years into 0.6, that will be equal to 6 years, right? It means the the twin T naught, this T is 10 years and T naught is 6 years. So the difference in the age of those two twin brothers, so that T minus T naught, that is equal to 10 minus 6 years. It means there is a difference of 4 years, in the age of those two twin brothers if one of the twin is traveling with a speed of 0.8 c. Twin brother that is having a life that is taking a time of 6 years, whereas a twin who is at the surface of earth, for that time taken is 10 years. So the time difference between the age of those two is 4 years. So this particular question is based upon the concept of time dilation. So using that concept you can solve this question. Now the next question is, what is the length of a meter rod moving parallel to its length when its mass is 3/2 times of its rest mass? So in this question two concepts are involved. You have to find the length of a meter rod. So since it is a meter rod, so length of that rod is 1 meter. A meter rod moving parallel to its length when its mass is 3/2 times of its rest mass. So what is given in the question? In this question it is giving that you have to find the length of a meter rod when it is moving parallel to its length when its mass is 3/2 times of its rest mass. Means it is given that m is equal to 3/2 times m naught. So this is given in the question, and you also know that according to relativistic mass formula, m is always m naught upon root 1 minus v square upon c square. So according to the question, it is 3/2 times m naught. Now this m naught and this m naught will get cancelled, and what you are getting? You are getting now root of 1 minus v square upon c square, that is equal to 2/3, just the inverse of that. And just simplify it. No need to simplify it, because what is required in the question? You have to find the length. So you know, according to the concept of length contraction, L is L naught into root 1 minus v square upon c square. Because whenever an object is moving with the velocity v, then for a stationary observer the length will be L naught into root 1 minus v square upon c square. So you know what is the value of root 1 minus v square upon c square here? According to the question, that is given by equation number 2. So just substitute this value of root 1 minus v square upon c square here. You are getting L naught into 2/3. And after simplifying, you are getting, this will be L naught, right? And you know this L naught is 1 meter. So you can write this is 0.667 meters, because L naught is 1 meter, right? So this is the answer of your question. So two concepts are involved here. One is the concept of variation of mass with the velocity of a particle, which is m equal to m naught upon root 1 minus v square upon c square. And the second concept, that is the concept of length contraction. So these two are involved. So you can solve these questions using these formulas. Now the next question is, find the speed of a 0.1 megaelectron volt electron according to classical and relativistic mechanics. So this is an interesting question. What you have to do here, you have to find the speed of a 0.1 megaelectron volt electron, right? So what is given in the question? In this question, you have a 0.1 megaelectron volt electron. So the kinetic energy of an electron is given. You know the particle is electron, and its kinetic energy is this 0.1 megaelectron volt, right? So first I am taking the case of classical mechanics, and you know in classical mechanics what is the formula for kinetic energy? You all know what is the formula for kinetic energy. The formula is, kinetic energy is half mv square. right? And what you require, you have to find the speed. So from here, v square is equal to 2k upon m. So what you require in this question, you require this v. So this will be equal to root 2k upon m, right? So now you can substitute these parameters here. So what is the value of v? It is root 2k. What is k? K is the kinetic energy which is given here, 0.1 mega electron volt. Mega means 10 raised to power 6. Electron volt means 1.6 into 10 raised to power minus 19. Right? 0.1 mega electron volt means you can write this kinetic energy as K is 0.1 mega. Mega means 10 raised to power 6. Electron volt means 1.6 into 10 raised to power minus 19 joule. So this is the kinetic energy in joule. So 2 into kinetic energy upon m. And you know, in classical mechanics, this mass is always the rest mass of particle, and the rest mass of particle is, rest mass of electron is 9.1 into 10 raised to power minus 31 kg. Now you have converted all the parameters in same system of units. So now you have to simplify it, and just simplify, and after simplifying you can find the value of v. And the answer of both the parts is already mentioned here. Just simplify it and check which answer is, which speed is applicable in classical mechanics. So this is the method to solve the classical part. Now how you will find the relativistic part, or how you will find the speed according to relativistic mechanics? In order to find that, you know, in relativistic mechanics, so the second part is you have to find the speed in relativistic mechanics. So according to relativistic mechanics, you know, the kinetic energy is given by a relationship m minus m naught into c square. I hope this is clear. K is m minus m naught c square, and you know what is m here? M is the relativistic mass and m naught is rest mass. And you also know what is the value of m? M is m naught upon under root 1 minus v square upon c square minus m naught into c square. So you can see here m naught is common. So when m naught is taken as a common factor, you are getting m naught c square into 1 upon under root 1 minus v square upon c square minus 1. Just simplify it for v. So if you will simplify, you will get k upon m naught c square plus 1 is equal to 1 upon under root 1 minus v square upon c square. Further you can write, I am just simplifying it, under root 1 minus v square upon c square is equal to 1 upon 1 plus k upon m naught c square, right? And further simplifying, you are getting 1 minus v square upon c square is equal to 1 upon 1 plus k upon m naught c square whole square, right? So you have to find the value of v. So just simplify it, and if you will simplify, just give me 1 minute. After simplifying, you are getting here v is equal to 1 minus 1 upon 1 plus k upon m naught c square whole square into c. I hope this particular step is clear. From here, finally we are reaching at this position. V is equal to root of 1 minus, sorry, V is equal to V is equal to C into 1 minus 1 upon 1 plus, you know what is the value of K? K is 0.1 mega electron volt. Sorry, 1 plus upon m naught c square. What is m naught c square? This is rest mass energy of electron, and rest mass energy of electron is 0.51 mega electron volt, right? So you have to solve this particular part. So just simplify it, and after simplifying you will get the value of V, and that is 1.87 into 10 raised to power 8 meter per second. So for classical mechanics, you have simply K is half mv square. Simplify that for V, you will get the value of V. And in relativistic mechanics, you have to adopt this method. K is m minus m naught into c square. M is equal to m naught upon this. Take m naught common, you are getting this. Then K upon m naught c square plus 1, that is equal to this. Simplify it for V, and then substitute all these values. V is equal to c into root this. This K is 0.1 mega electron volt, and m naught c square. For electron, this rest mass energy is 0.51 mega electron volt. You can substitute the value of m naught, which is 9.1 into 10 raised to power minus 31. C, that is speed of light, 9 into 10 raised to power 16 is c square. After simplifying, you will get this m naught c square. Now, why I am writing it in electron volt? Because kinetic energy is already given in electron volt. So this will get cancelled. Just simplify it, solve it, and find the value of V. So if you want to calculate the speed of any particle with respect to classical mechanics or with respect to relativistic mechanics, then in classical mechanics simply K is half mv square, and in relativistic mechanics you are having K is equal to this one. So this is the method to solve it. Now the next question. Next question is, the proper life of a pi meson is 2.5 into 10 raised to power minus 8 second. So this is the proper life. If a beam of these mesons of velocity 0.8 c, this is the velocity with which these mesons are moving, is produced, calculate the distance the beam can travel before the flux of meson beam is reduced to 1 upon e square times of its initial flux, right? So you have to solve it. So how you are going to solve it? You know that when these mesons, that is pi mesons, they are traveling, there will be disintegration or decay of those mesons or that particular beam of mesons, and that will take place according to this formula. There will be exponential decay of those pi mesons according to this n equal to n naught e raised to power minus t by tau, right? So this is the equation of exponential decay of these pi mesons. N is equal to n naught e raised to power minus t upon tau, or you can say t upon t naught, or so first we have to find this. So this tau is, you have these pi mesons, give me 1 minute. The proper lifetime that is given, T naught, it is 2.5 into 10 raised to power minus 8 seconds, and the velocity with which they are moving, that is 0.8 c. So velocity is given, time is given, and you know, according to the concept of time dilation, T is equal to T naught upon under root 1 minus V square upon C square. And you know this, that T naught is 2.5 into 10 raised to power minus 8. Just give me 1 minute. T is 2.5 into 10 raised to power minus 8 upon under root 1 minus V is 0.8. So 0.64 c square and c square will get cancelled. You are getting here 2.5 into 10 raised to power minus 8 divided by, this will be 0.36, outside the under root it will be 0.6. So 2.5 divided by 0.6 into 10 raised to power minus 8. That is the value of T. And you have to calculate the distance that beam can travel before the flux of meson is reduced to 1 upon e square times of its initial flux. means according to the question, n is equal to that time in which n will become 1 upon e square times of n naught, and according to the question it is n naught e raised to power minus t upon tau. So this n naught will get cancelled, e raised to power minus 2, e raised to power minus t by tau. So t upon tau is equal to 2. It implies t is equal to 2 times of tau. And you have already calculated this this time here, this lifetime here. After simplifying, this is tau actually. So find the value of this tau and substitute it here. You will get the time, and if the time is known, then you can find the distance travelled. So 2.5, first you have to find the value of this time. So let me calculate it. It will be 2.5, it is 4.167 into 10 raised to power minus 8. So this t is equal to now 2 into 4.167 into 10 raised to power minus 8. So this is, let me calculate it, it is 8.3 into 10 approximately into 10 raised to power minus 8 second. So in this time, what will be the distance travelled? Distance travelled will be equal to v into t. So v is 0.8 c, c is 3 into 10 raised to power 8, right? This is the value of v into t. T is 8.3 into 10 raised to power minus 8. So you have to calculate it, right? So this is your 8.3 multiply by 0.8 multiply by 3, and it is 10 raised to power minus 8, and this is 10 raised to power plus 8. After simplifying, you can see the distance travelled is 20 meters. It means the time when the flux will become 1 upon e square times of initial flux. In that time, the distance which will be travelled, that distance is equal to 20 meters. So you have to use this formula, n is equal to n naught e raised to power minus t upon tau. So this tau is the time, dilated time because of the relativistic speed. So that time will be equal to, according to time dilation, t naught upon under root 1 minus v square upon c square. T naught is this, and this is under root 1 minus 0.64. After simplifying, you are getting this is the time tau, and using this particular formula, n is equal to 1 upon e square times of n naught. So that is the flux in time t. So according to the question, it should be 1 upon e square times of n naught. After simplifying, you are getting t is twice of tau. So you have the value of tau. First you have calculated that time in which the flux will become 1 upon e square times. Substitute that value of t there, you will get the distance travelled. So this question is also based upon time dilation. So this is the method to solve these questions, right? And how does a proton gain in mass accelerated to a kinetic energy of 500 electron volt? So K, you know, delta m into c square. So the gain in mass, that will be equal to K upon c square. So you know K, that is given 500 mega electron volt. Mega means 10, electron volt means 1.6 into 10 raised to power minus 19, and c square, you know, 9 into 10 raised to power 16. So just simplify it, and after simplifying, you can find the increase in mass for this electron, which is accelerated to through a kinetic energy of 500 mega electron volt. So this is the method to find that increase in mass, right? So that's all. So try to solve the questions based upon different concepts of relativistic mechanics. So thank you so much. Now from the next lecture, we are going to start electromagnetics. So thank you so much for today.